Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. I decided that today, well, actually, I made a promise to a friend of mine that I was going to do a talk today about the vibration of the number five. Five is the number of change. And as with everything, change is a trinity: transition, transformation, and transcendence. All items are components in the trinity of change. Now, for most of us, change is something that we don't do very well. Generally, the ego says, "Now I've learned it. Now I've got it. Let's have this set in stone. I don't need to change it. I don't need you bothering me with any new things." And one of the reasons I want to talk about change, other than the fact that I was talking to a friend of mine a few days ago, and we were discussing the fact that she was going through the vibration of a number five. She was in her fifth year. She had started at her birthday. That was a number 5 year, and so understandably, every time we begin a number 5 year, we have all sorts of issues going on, all kinds of challenges, all kinds of thoughts. So let me back up a little bit. That most of us are sleepwalking through life, and we think that we were just dropped in on planet Earth and dropped into the Earth's matrix, and okay, go for what you know. And that nothing could be further from the truth. The astronomers have let us know that yes, there is some merit to the fact of our astrological makeup. There is some merit to our numerological makeup, that they all have an effect on us, a profound effect. But I like to think of them as cheat sheets or guideposts or a premise, as it were, because we're all beings of free will. However, most of us do not understand what free will actually means, what predestination actually means. We don't have a real clear picture of it, and so we don't look at these things correctly. That'll be for another topic. Today, I want to simply talk about what this vibration does. Now, when I talk about five, I talk about every 5 years. So 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, ad nauseum. And one of the things that, if we're paying attention, which most of us are not, as I said, the majority of us are sleepwalking through our lives, and so nothing really gets our attention unless it is an upset. Enter the number five. Every 5 years, if you can reflect back, there is a major upset in the status quo of your life. And for most women, the first jolt is 30, because they feel like they have to make a decision. Am I going to be the career woman? Am I going to be the wife and mother and support my husband? Which way am I going? Which way am I going? Some make the decision to go corporate and business. Others make the decision to be wives and mothers. No judgment here. But generally, by the time a woman is 30, she feels like she should have decided, and she picks that path. Now, fast forward to 40. Because 35, she gets a little bit of a shakeup too, but she feels that that's just because of her chosen path. But from 40, because of the scientists and thanks to the medical profession, most women, when they hit 40 years old, have been conditioned to believe that their hormones are out of whack and they're losing their rabbit minds. Nothing could be further than from the truth. Yes, the body does go through changes, but newsflash, your body started menopause right around 30 to 35 for the average woman. By the time you hit 40 or 45, it's winding down. And so the issues that are going on are more dramatic. We'll talk about that at another time. Suffice to say, at 40 and 45, you are not rabid like you have been led to believe. You just simply do not understand the shifts that are going on with you, because we don't teach this. We're not conditioned to understand ourselves. We're taught that everyone else has the answers and that we have nothing. We run to this expert or the other expert trying to figure out what's what, when all answers reside within. Right here, people. Don't need to go anyplace else. Yes, there are those on the planet, myself included, that help you go here, that help you understand yourself. But once you get there and introduce yourself to yourself, then you have all the equipment and all of the answers that you need to move through. So let's talk about this number 5. We have Pythagoras to thank for us understanding how mathematics affect our lives. The numbers are 1 through 9. Those numbers, each number has a vibration. Each number, each combination of numbers have a specific vibration, and they affect us a certain way. Because after all, we are celestial beings. And because we come from the cosmos, then we have all of that within us. Our geometry, our astronomy, our numerology are all cheat sheets that help us understand the unique person that is you. Now, in the coming weeks, I'm going to pick up on 1 through 9. But right today, because of a promise I made to a friend, we're going to talk about the number 5. Now, I love this number because I feel I'm uniquely qualified to talk about the number 5. My birthday is the 14th, which is a number 5. And to add to that, the time of my birth, which was in the morning, which is why I'm such a morning person, which was in the morning, also equals 5. So I have got this mandate for change. I am not about the status quo. I am about how can we make it better? How can we transcend it? How can we go above it? Anything that has upward movement gets my attention. And so there's no different in my life. My life has operated that way. I have always been a person that, okay, I'm tired of doing this. What's next? I've learned a lot of things. I think in the early part of my career, I must have knew, I don't know, 15 or 20 new word processing systems. I mean, every time a new system came out, I would literally change jobs, leave the law firm I was at so that I could go learn another system. So I've always been about learning. Being a 9 coming out of the month of September and having that 9 vibration, I was naturally metaphysical, naturally esoteric. I still gravitate to psychology, philosophy, all things spiritual, not religious. I don't subscribe to any religious dogma. I don't judge it. It's just dogma, and I don't participate. I keep myself open, always evolving, always learning, always becoming better and knowing a little bit more. Being that Virgo, wisdom is very important to me. Intellect is very important to me. But that number 5 has come to my rescue and caused a lot of havoc in my life before I understood exactly what that vibration meant, how it was important to me, and what I needed to understand about it, what I needed to know about it, and how to gauge my responses once I understood what the heck was going on. And so I want to invite you to stop sleepwalking for a while. Let's open up our eyes and sit straight up and really start to listen and pay attention. I want to tell you a story about 45 for me. At 45, which is that 5 vibration, it also, 4 and 5 is 9, so add to that completion of some sorts. And I was in a conundrum. I should not have had anything to complain about. I was living in Atlanta. I had a successful transportation company. I was also doing charters. I was still working with attorneys, which is something I love to do from a paralegal aspect. Legal assistant. I was doing all of that, and I had met a guy. Now, I'm going to admit and stop right here and say that this was not a good time for me to be dealing with a significant other relationship. I was really, really busy. I was very content. The challenge was I was working in a male-dominated industry in my transportation. I was doing motor coaches and 15-passenger vans, taking people from using a van service, taking them into Atlanta, and so that they didn't have to drive. And I was doing this, so this was really working really well. But one of the things that I noticed is I would go to an event, and the fact that I was a female seemed to cause a lot of the other wives some questions. And it became, very difficult for me to do my job because I was dealing with these significant others that did not know that it was all about the business. I was in a situation where I leased my limousines from a company. I used their limousines. I used several companies' motor coaches. And so this got to be very difficult. So I decided that I needed to give the appearance of having a significant other so that these females could relax. So enter this questionable relationship, but he looked really good in a suit and he knew how to act. He knew not to interfere with me in any way. He was very attentive. I got a lot of compliments on this man and how he acted when we were out and about and I was doing my business. Needless to say, I thought this was going to be the perfect relationship. It didn't. So at 45, I closed my business because this gentleman in my life wanted to move to wanted to move to Arizona. And I was at 45 now, so I thought I needed this change. Here comes this 5-year shakeup, and I'm thinking, okay, nothing is really, I need to change. Things are becoming full of drama. I got involved with this man, and with him came a lot of family baggage. An adult child that I call an adult child because he was well in his 20s, but hadn't cut the proverbial umbilical cord. And was still very attached, very dependent on parents financially, emotionally. And I decided, okay, this is perfect. Off to Arizona we go. So I closed down my businesses. I packed up my home and off to Arizona I came. My very first night in Arizona, we had one of those moons, one of those beautiful full moons that comes so close to the earth. You literally look out your back window and it feels like you could touch it, like it's just right there. It's a very interesting phenomena to be sure. And I was very fascinated. I had never seen anything like this. But I begged and posed the question, what on earth am I doing in Arizona? This is clearly not a vibration that I resonate with. I'm not ready to retire. I don't have that kind of relaxed energy. And I'm like, okay, what on earth happened to me? I've taken leave of my senses. To which Spirit replied very loudly and very distinctly, you are here in Arizona because nothing can hide in the desert. And I sort of went, what? And at the time, I thought it was quite cryptic. But it really proved to really come true because I got to take the blinders off, and I saw my then husband very clearly. As the guy says, warts and all. I sort of took the blinders off and saw who I was dealing with for actually the very first time. And other relationships that I had going on, other personal relationships, family relationships, children. I got to see all of these relationships for the first time in a very, very clear eye, with a very clear eye. I had never looked at these situations completely and totally or even effectively prior to this move. So it turned out to be really a really good move for me. But I want to say that what implemented all of this was my 45th birthday. It was 45. When fives come into our life, whether it's 45, 50, 55, 60, you can expect that all of a sudden, it's like you feel like I went to bed last night and I was fine and I woke up going, what on earth am I doing? Nothing is working. I'm very close to tears. I feel like crying. I'm upset. I'm unhappy. What on earth? And it looks like overnight. It's not, but when you have that birthday, when you hit that number 5, it is a vibration of let's shake things up. Let's get out of the status quo. Now, it's important to understand this because you need to put it in perspective. And the only way you can put it in perspective is, first of all, as I said earlier, most of us on the planet are sleepwalking. Stop sleepwalking. Pay attention to what Spirit is telling you. Okay, so all of a sudden you're feeling you've got this birthday and you've turned 55 or 60 or 65, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden you feel like crying, like everything's wrong, and you don't understand. But this is because Spirit wants you to take a look at what's going on in your life. Are you growing? Are you better? Are you moving forward? Or are you just like treading water? We're not here on the planet to tread water, people. We are here to evolve. We are here for a purpose. We are not on the planet by accident. Yes, we are here by choice. Absolutely. But we are by no means an accidental afterthought. And we have never been an afterthought for the creator of all things. So we are here for a definite purpose. And yes, it is true that at the time we come down the birth canal, we forget a lot. Yes, we have to. Because we are eternal beings. We are celestial beings that our lives began as cosmic stars. And we've got a beautiful, fantastic destination, many of us, and in varying degrees of returning to that celestial life. So yes, if you were to walk around and remember all of your past lives while you were trying to live this one, I would dare say you wouldn't get out of bed. Because some of those lives and some of those life paths that you have been are not altogether nice. And so if you could remember all of those, you would just be tangled up. It's the same reason that your I am presence that keeps a record of and a delineation of every life you've ever had since your beginning of your being, which was at the beginning of time, wherever that was. Then it keeps a record of all of that. But it only keeps a record of your accomplishments, your achievements, your abilities, your spiritual evolution. It does not keep an account of your errors and judgment. Nobody does. It's just something that you move through and you move on and you move past. And we won't go into that because this is where we get our concepts of heaven and hell and punishment, and all of that is self-inflicted nonsense, for lack of a better word. None of that is going on. So once you understand that you are in this, you're 45 or you're 50 or whatever, and you're in this need for change. Sometimes when I get like that now, I just recently, 2 years ago, had one of my 5-year milestones. I bought new furniture. And that kind of took care of it. I said, okay, things have got to be shook up. I am not right now ready to move out of my house. I am not ready to move out of the state. I'm not ready to do such drastic things, even though my little feet are just going. My ignition is revved up. I'm ready to close the bank accounts and get out of Dodge. And I satisfied that, believe it or not, by buying new furniture. I bought new furniture. I put it in the house, satisfied that need, that itch, that scratch for change. And we can do things as minor as that. But the point is to just look and make a decision. Be mindful of what you need to do. Stop reacting. We are so programmed to be on automatic. And now with our new technology, and don't get me wrong, I love technology. I love to fly. And one of the things I love about flying is I love being up in the clouds and being up and just looking out over the clouds and seeing the clouds beneath me or in front of me. I absolutely love that feeling, and I marvel at our achievements. I think technology is wonderful in its place, but it also has made us complacent. It has made us lazy. I can't remember a telephone number. I keep telling myself I'm going to start practicing dialing telephone numbers. It's so easy to point and click, is it not? We've got all these numbers in our telephones, and all we have to do is point and click, and there's the number. But what are we doing to our brain? It's a muscle. And so we have to do things for our brain and for our minds to stay active, which is why I was sharing with a friend of mine. I love working. I have a sister that told me she can't wait to retire. And I think, okay. I'm not rushing to hurry up and do nothing, because you may be excited the first year. I had a chance to be at a birthday party not a few months back, and there was a gentleman there that was talking about buying this business, and that one of the things he was going to do, he already had everything planned out. He was only 50. He was going to buy this business, he was going to build it for 10 years, and then he was going to sell it and retire. So that would put him at a whopping 60 years old. And so I asked the question, I said, oh, that's really wonderful, and what are you going to do when you retire? And he said, well, I'm going to travel around the world. I said, okay, that's a year. What are you going to do after that? And he sort of looked at me, because beyond traveling around the world, he didn't have a plan. And so I said to him, I said, well, you need to think about that. I said, because we're living now to 85. It's not unheard of to people making it to 85 or making it to 90 if that's their choice. And we're told that we can go beyond that if we so desire. And so what are you going to do if you retire at 60 and you've got theoretically 25 more viable years, of which you've only planned for one? So it begs the question, why do you, and the mind is a terrible thing to waste. You need to always be evolving, always growing, always challenging yourself. As I said in my book that I just completed, that what you need to grow is an opposite opinion. Because it's good to hear the opinion of others. It's good to be in situations with people that you don't agree with, but they may raise a point. They may raise a question in your mind to make you rethink some of the positions that you've taken in the past. That's what life is about. That's what makes life so wonderful and so challenging, that we engage in it. We need to engage in life. It is not a spectator's sport. And so we're grateful for this number 5, because every 5 years it comes in to say, all right, what are we doing? What's next? Where are you? I remember as a kid, my dad used to say, for New Year's, he used to say, you think about the year and you write out your goals. I like to call them intents. I don't like goals. But you write those out and you plan loosely your coming year. But the importance of New Year is looking back and pulling out your prior year that you've written down and cross out what you've done, and then transfer to the new year those new intents. And it's really, really good. And I like to blow bubbles. I like to go out on New Year's Eve and stand outside at midnight and blow bubbles. And I blow bubbles into the universe of the things that I want to accomplish, the things I want to do. It's a lot of fun. I challenge you to try it this coming up New Year, to blow your bubbles and just charge the universe with what you're thinking, what you might want to do. Now, you may change your mind during the course of the year, but it gives you something to really think about. It gets you going. It gets your mind going. It keeps you engaged in your life. And so we have this wake-up call every 5 years that tells us, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you still thinking? My dad used to say, if you take into the next year all the drama and crap that you had the year before, then you haven't grown, you haven't made any progress, you are a waste of energy, because you haven't done anything. You're in a dogmatic stance. And yes, there are people on the planet that really like consistency and get really, really just blown out of proportion when things change. And that's their choice. But that's not by design. That's by their choice. But the Creator has created a universe that is not chaotic, but it is a universe of change, of evolution, of evolving. you hear so many times, I don't like family law. But a couple of times that I found myself involved in family law, I was always amazed at the thing that always came out was, we grew apart. He was going left, I was going right. And we couldn't find a happy medium. So we weren't traveling this life together. I was going my way, he was going his way. And we don't have any children, but I want custody of the dogs. I don't want to split them up. It'll be too traumatic. Or the horse, or the cats, whatever they're fighting over at the time. That, I want my share of what comes out of this relationship. And sometimes those marriages are 20 and 25 and 30 years old, and they've been unsatisfactory. And sometimes one person just goes, there's something about the devil, having been in love with the person for years and years and years, and just biding their time. Just, okay, I'm just here because I just don't want to change. I don't want to start over. Well, waking up to a brand new day is exciting. And it gets the juices pumping, and it gets your heart going. Not from blame and not from wanting to punish the person, but from even allowing that. Because what happens when people go two separate ways? They allow that to happen. They don't stop and think, I'm not running on his track and he's not running on mine. Or we're not complimenting each other. Or we're not there. He's doing his own thing and I'm doing my own thing. I know in my marriage, we were roommates. He had his part of the financial responsibilities. I had my part of the financial responsibilities. My money left over was mine. His money was left over was his, and never the two shall meet. And it was like, okay, we're just roommates. And I woke up and said, I don't want to live like this. I don't want a roommate. If I want a roommate, then I'll get a roommate. This is supposed to be a marriage. This is not a marriage. It doesn't feel like one, doesn't look like one. We're just roommates. I mean, and every evening when I came home, he was upset and angry about something. And I was working. I'd been gone all day. He was retired and doing whatever he was doing all day. But I was working all day. And to come home and to have somebody, I'm very empathic, standing on their bottom lip and then looking at you going, nothing's wrong. And after a while, I can tell you people, that gets really old. You're like, okay, nothing's wrong, then you be nothing wrong all by yourself, because I'm tired of looking at this. And ending it on that note, and not in anger, just, this is not what I want my life to look like. I may not know what I want it to look like right now, but I know what I don't want it to look like. And so that number 5 comes in again to help. Because I think when I made that decision, I was probably at another number 5 year. When I was like, this is not working. This is not working. This is not going to work. And so I'm out of here. And that's okay. It's very, very okay when we get in places like that. Number 5s help us do that. And so I want you to start to think about your number 5s. Start to think about, are you 25 now? Those of you that are listening to this YouTube, where are you right now? Are you 30? Are you 35, 40, 45, 50, 60? It doesn't matter. But those number 5 years are years that make you wake up, that make you look around, and you are going to feel like nothing's working. This is natural. Or you're going to feel a foreboding, or you're going to feel, I've had clients tell me, I just want to cry. And I don't even know why, but I just feel overwhelmingly sad. And, I'll say, how old are you? 40. Well, let me tell you about the number 5. Let me tell you about that number 5 year that you are dealing with right now. It always brings with it turmoil. It brings with it dissatisfaction. It brings with it challenges. It brings with it all of those feelings that sometimes have some people running off to the local psychiatrist because they think that they are just, losing their mind. And then, of course, they get antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs. And when those drugs get through with you, you definitely have lost your mind. And I am a practicing hypnotist. I don't work with people that are not in control of their faculties. When they fill out their intake sheet and they tell me they're on any kind of antidepressant, I am like, I can't help you. I will not work with people that are not in control of their faculties. And we have to ask ourselves, why do you want to be oblivious? You need to learn how to organize and handle your life. It is your life. You chose it. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you chose exactly the life you're having right now and where you are. And if you don't like it, then you need to change it. But you also need to consciously change it. You need to find out, what is it that you really need? And then don't settle. Don't settle for 80%. Don't settle for 90%. Get 100% of what you want, because that is what you deserve. And if it means that you're going to date a little longer, then date a little longer. Don't waste your life and your energies in something that does not work for you. Don't. Because in the end, it's a slap in the face to the creator of your being that actually gave you this life, for you to waste it in areas and around people, places, and things that don't work for you or don't suit you. And before you do that, I call it, like I used to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's just start all over again. And we feel that way in a number 5. We feel that way. I'm just gonna get rid of everything because nothing's working. I can't figure out what's wrong. So why don't I just throw everything out and let's just start from scratch? Well, the problem is, wherever you go, you take yourself. So if you do not work on what is causing the dissatisfaction, okay, it's a number 5 year, the job's not working, the relationship's not working, the children are not working, whatever the case may be, sit down and consciously write about it. What needs to change? Because whatever needs to shift, you need to shift it right now. And you need to shift it to what it needs to be right now. Not a willy-nilly throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because trust me, some of the things that you throw out, 2 or 3 years from now, you may have said, well, you know what? Now that feeling is past, he wasn't that bad, or she wasn't that bad, or I really could have worked on this a little bit harder. And so if what you're feeling is needing a job change, needing a location change, stop and think about that. Think about what that location needs to look like. And what does that location have to provide for you? In the past, I was always running to the sunshine. Now I live in Arizona, where I've got more heat than I care to deal with. And I will be leaving. Trust me. I have made up in my mind that I'm out of here. But I can't really put my finger on where I want to go. So I've got a list of what I want that place to look like. What kind of life am I going to have there? What kind of lifestyle do I want to have? So I'm working on that end. Because if I work on that end, at first I came out and I said, I'm going back to Atlanta, or I'm going to do this, and I'm thinking about that. And Atlanta's a new place now. I wouldn't know it. So it's not like going back to Atlanta. It's like going to Atlanta, because I have no point of reference for the Atlanta that exists right now. I've been gone 23 years. But I stopped and I thought, after I made that bold statement, and I thought, well, wait a minute. What do I really want my life to look like? I want this to be an aspect of it, but this is not the 90% aspect. This little aspect that I'm thinking of right now that Atlanta would give me is only about 10 or 15%. What about the other 85%? What is the best place for that? And so, see, this is what makes life fun. This is when you engage in life. When you sit down and engage your mind and engage spirit and have that conversation with spirit within that knows exactly what you need to be doing, by the way. And you have to silence yourself in order to hear it. But it will guide you and tell you where you want to go. What are the things that you want to do? Well, this place may offer this. This place may offer that. This place may offer 100% of what I'm looking for. And if that's the case, then I've already got my destination. That has not happened yet. I'm still in the what do I want it to look like phase. I've got about 3 things out of probably 90. But what do I want it to look like? What does the next part of my life look like? What does it look like? If I was to draw that painting of the next part of my life, what does it look like? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm right smack dab in the middle of my life. I've got just as many years ahead of me as I have behind me. That's what I have decided. That's the decision that I have made. We'll see how it holds up. But I'm off to a good start. And so because of that, my question is, what do I want the next part of my life to look like? And I know that every 5 years, I'm going to get that wake-up call that says, okay, this is what your life looks like now. Is this good? Because, see, you're going to have, depending on how far off track you are, you're going to have anything from mild discomfort to full-blown crying jags to major anxiety and depression. So it's going to depend on how far off the mark you are from your source, from spirit, that knows exactly where you're supposed to be at every milestone in your life. But we're in the habit of not listening, or we're so deep in dogma that we don't know how to reconcile our lives. And that's a new thing I have now, that I say lives have to be reconciled now. They don't have to be changed. They have to be reconciled. They have to be put in alignment now. It's my new thing. I kind of like that a lot better. I used to say, oh, we're going to, effect all these changes. Now I'm like, oh, we're going to reconcile your life. We're going to reconcile what you got going on to what you want your life to look like. Number 5s are our friend. They come every 5 years. Every 5 years from the time you come into this life expression. Most of them are unnoticeable because you really don't pay attention. We don't learn life cycles. We don't learn the importance of every 7 years, every 9 years, every 12 years. These things are not taught. They're taught esoterically, but they're not taught worldwide, for lack of a better word. This is not taught. It's not taught in the school systems. We don't teach our children these things. They learn these things if they have a mind to learn once they leave our house. So we don't teach these things. And so our children are not prepared for when they run into these cycles. I was thinking this morning about one of my children, one of my offspring is a Pisces. And that is her sun sign. Not her rising or her moon, but it's her sun sign, and it's very prevalent for her. Most people's sun signs are not, but hers is very prevalent. So the empathic abilities, the strong psychic abilities, the major out of proportion compassion that she feels, she becomes heartsick. And that's one of the reasons why she withdraws to herself so much. She stays withdrawn to herself. She'll tell me sometimes, I don't like people. That's not really true. She can't handle the emotions of people. She can't handle what it does to her because she is so sensitive. It's like all the hairs on her body stand on her head because of all of the incongruencies that she witnesses in the world. It makes her heart sick. And so she has a little dog and she stays to herself, and she does not interact with a lot of people. And she comes off as standoffish. She comes off as mean. She comes off all these things. But I understand it is the pain of the universe that she can't handle. It is all of that coming at her that she feels. And I know that because my moon is in Pisces. And so I'm so thankful for Pisces for giving me my clairvoyant ability, for giving me my empathic ability, for giving me that sensitivity, that I have a heightened sensitivity. I can walk in a room sometimes and know to go back and get on the elevator and go home. This is not the day to be here. And I feel all of the emotions around me. But I have learned through my esoteric studies how to handle those things, how to understand when emotions are not mine, but they're around me. They're the people around me that I'm picking up on, and how to filter those, and my new word, reconcile those with where I am. And it gives me a great big a deal of understanding that person is in pain. This person is acting this way because they're just in pain. And I was so hurt by my daughter's withdrawal for years and years and years. And I finally came to realize, but it's for her own protection. She cannot handle all of the emotions that bombard her. She just can't handle them. And so she goes off to herself and she withdraws for years and years from everybody. And it has a small, very, 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 very small group of people that are around her. I'm like that now. I have a very small circle of people in my life, very small, because I can handle that. I can't handle a lot of people in my life because it becomes overwhelming to an empath. So you have to learn how to reconcile. You have to learn how to process. I'm not the only empath out here. But those of you that are understanding that it does take that esoteric growth. It does take that learning how to sort out your stuff from the people around you and be able to be that light, to be able to be that blessing to them that helps them without them really even knowing why. And so that number, again, going back to those numbers, help you. Again, when we started learning, just as an ending, when we start thinking about our psychological makeup, when we start thinking about our astrological makeup, and what it is. I mean, I'm earth, air, and water, and the astrologist told me, oh, that's a wonderful combination. And I used to go, you say, because I did not know how to reconcile my Virgo, my Pisces, and my Libra. I had no clue. I just thought they were warring fractions until I probably was about 40 years of age before I understood, oh yeah, this really is great because I've got air for the balance and I've got Virgo for seeing through to the truth of things and seeing to when you get rid of all the fluff, what's there? What do I need to focus on? And wonderful Pisces that helps me see, that helps me intuit, that helps me know, to help me feel. And I was not always able to handle any of these gifts. And to top it off, I was a number 5 and a 9 and 7. So I have this combination. My life combination there is 9, 5, 7, and 9 and 7 are endings and new beginnings, and 5 is change. So you better believe it has taken me a long time to get everything reconciled and everybody on the same car and understanding how to travel and how to maneuver these things. And actually, that's what makes life so fascinating, dear audience, is when you start to appreciate your unique combinations, your numerology, what that does for you, what that gives you, the abilities that it sheds to you and shares with you, your astrological makeup, what that does, what gifts do you get from that sun sign, that moon sign, that rising sign? And what are you getting from that? What do you get? I met a lady a few years back, though, that told me she was a triple Scorpio, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I spoke out of turn without, I really was a smart tail remark. However, Scorpios are very, very compassionate, passionate people. And they are generous people. But they also have a lot of issues and challenges. And so my thing was, what kind of karma did you set up for yourself that you didn't want any relief from this water sign? My daughter that's Pisces, her son is in Pisces, but I believe that she's a water and fire. I think she's water, fire, air. And I'd have to think about that and look it up because it escapes me right now. But I believe that she is, because she can be very, very, very fiery. But understanding what those elements bring to you. I get the practicality of earth. I get the intuitiveness of the emotions in Pisces. And they can be tricky because I am at my emotional base Piscean, not Virgo and not Libra. And so I feel very deeply and I cry really easily. It does not take much to bring me into a puddle of tears, but I understand and I know how to process and I know how to reconcile it. And I know how to feed and let those emotions be what they are without them turning me into a real puddle. But feeling things very deeply is one of the things of Pisceans have that. They feel very, very, very deeply the emotions of others. And it can cause them. I like to call myself, I'm an introvert with an extrovert override. So that's my Libra. I can be the life of the party and I can be extroverted, but I also have to have my alone time. It's absolutely mandatory for me. If I don't have a great deal of alone time, I lose my equilibrium and my balance. So understanding those things about yourselves, not from a standpoint of judgment and you're bad, because you're not. You are unique. You are a unique creation with a very unique blend. And I have Pythagoras to thank for us understanding our numerological values and what those do for us. The many, many, many astronomers over the ages that have learned the planetary influence and what that does for us. And then our own spirit within that guides us and teaches us if we would but listen to that guidance, to that knowing. I always say, you know what you know. You don't know why you know. You just know. That's a true answer. I always say when I can shut that intellect off and I'm like, I know this. I don't know why I know, but I know. And I know that that's coming from spirit. And I know that anytime I stay with spirit, I am always right on track. So if you are coming up to a number 5, or if you're in a number 5 right now, 40, 50, 60, 70, wherever you are, understand that that is a vibration, that is a gift from the universe to you that says, take a deep breath and check what's going on in your life. I'm Jade, also known as Ashanti Ra. And until we meet again, have a wonderful day, have a blessed week, and may the wind be at your back. Namaste.